Hey guys, happy Wednesday. Welcome to the video. If we don't know each other, my name is Tara. I'm a registered nurse and certified personal trainer, nutritionist, and health coach. And today I wanted to talk to you guys about hunger. It's something that people don't talk about that much in the health space, the longevity space, and the fat loss space. And this is kind of where I do most of my work. And it's interesting because we try so hard to prevent hunger a lot of times. We're afraid of hunger, we want to prevent it, we think it's bad, right? We're nervous about it, we want to make sure that we aren't hungry. Hi, Joni. So let's talk about it. Today I'm actually going to share with you 4 reasons that hunger can be your friend. All right, so where does hunger come in? Well, for one, most people experience hunger when they are trying to lose some excess body fat. And in order to lose excess body fat, you need to be tapping into your body's own stores. Good morning. Your body's own stored energy, right? So if you have excess body fat, all that means is that you're carrying around some extra energy with you. And in order to get rid of that, what you have to do is use it up as energy, and then that's how you get rid of it, okay? We actually end up breathing out the metabolites after we burn up the fat. That's where it goes. A lot of people are like, where does my fat go? Well, that's what happens. You actually end up breathing it out. So if the moment you're not eating and you're breathing, you're burning fat, okay? Now, a lot of times, the thing that people do is they try to overly restrict, and not only is that not good from a health perspective, and not only is that not even good for a body composition perspective, because what happens is if you go too fast with this whole process of trying to lose body fat, you don't lose body fat. Eventually you stop with body fat and you start tapping into muscles and things like that. So the whole goal for a lot of people is that they want to look lean or they want to feel strong, and you are butting up against that when you're breaking down your own muscles to use up as energy. So what you want to do is you want to find that sweet spot. I can help you with that. Simple calculations are all it requires, but you want to find that sweet spot where you are using up some body fat for your energy. So you're eating most of your energy, and then you're supplementing with some of your own body fat, and together you're getting all the nutrients that you need between those two things. But you're not going too fast to the point where then you're breaking down your muscles. So muscle protein breakdown is what that's called. It basically just means your body starts to cannibalize its own muscles. Not a process that you really want to tap into. So you got to really find that sweet spot. But one of the things that prevents people a lot of times, they're going too fast. So they're going to have this problem with the body composition. Ironically, what they're after is they're actually getting the opposite, because they're going too fast and they're breaking down their muscle. But also then our body, to survive, of course, is going to be throwing up all kinds of signals to eat because it thinks that you are starving. It doesn't know that you're on this fat loss journey, and it's afraid that you're not going to get the next meal. What? Yes, sorry, hold on. What's up, buddy? Oh, nice. Cool. You want to show everybody? One moment. Here, show everybody. You got a little purple fuzz?
No, it's from Maggie's.
From a wig. Okay. I'm talking about hunger, okay?
Can I help?
Can you help? Sure. What was I saying? We go too fast sometimes, right? And then the hunger, buddy, we're right here. The hunger ends up being too much, and people end up binging, right? So you hear from a lot of people.
Sit on your ankle.
No, but we hear from a lot of people that, they diet and then they binge, and they diet and they binge, and this whole cycle that repeats. And of course, right? Because if you're going too fast with that, your body's going to tell you that you need to eat, and it's going to turn that dial up louder and louder until you actually listen to it. So a little more distracted today, guys. Sorry. Okay, but here's what I want to tell you about hunger. Should we start to think of it in a different light? I think that we should. Please hear me out that if you have a history of disordered eating, there might be some special circumstances for you, okay? Reach out to me privately if you want to. We could talk about that process, but that will require something different, number one. And number two, please also understand that I'm not ever saying that anybody should be starving or that they should be hungry all of the time, okay? I'm talking about intermittent periods of feeling hunger and why that might be actually a good thing. Now I've got both kids around here. Well, you might as well say hi if you're here.
Hi. little thing out of like here.
So we've got projects going. Hey, Abby. Okay, so number one, this is an interesting perspective. I always get people saying, oh, I never thought about that before. But a lot of times people will think of fullness as being okay, but then hunger is not. But they're really not that different. They're just on opposite sides of the spectrum, right? So even socially, it's more acceptable to say that you're full versus saying, well, I'm hungry, and you're not doing anything about it, right? So fullness and hunger, if we look at it that way, they're just two sides of the spectrum, and you feel hungry, right? You can sit that out a little while, you can eat, and you can eat until you feel satisfied. You're sort of on the other end of the spectrum, and then eventually you get hungry again, and eventually you fill up again, right? And it's back and forth on a continuum here, and it's not that one end is bad and the other end is good. It's just that those are things that we're going to experience as we eat and then we don't eat, right? So that's just another way to think of it. Also, if you're eating mostly whole foods, real foods, things that don't have 25 ingredients, not processed carbs and things that come out of boxes and bags, and we all do that sometimes, but if you're mostly eating real whole foods, then you can start to really trust your hunger cues. If you're eating that stuff mostly or often, then when you feel hungry, you may actually be experiencing withdrawal from those types of foods and or blood sugar crashes. So you can feel artificial hunger if you have eaten something that's going to spike your blood sugar and then it comes crashing down. You will feel hungry even though that is not the same as true hunger, like I don't have enough nutrients in my body and I need to eat, okay? So in order to calibrate your hunger signals and be able to trust them, you need to first do this homework where you're switching over your diet to mostly real whole foods, whatever that is for you. That could be vegan for some people, that could be carnivore diet for others, paleo, there's all kinds of things in between. But the main thing is that you're not over consuming processed foods. Otherwise you can't really trust that your hunger is true hunger. But once you do, then you can learn to really tune into yourself and just pay attention of when you get hungry and when you get satisfied, right? That back and forth. The other thing about feeling hungry is it allows us to stop fearing hunger. I think most people are actually more afraid of the idea of being hungry than they are uncomfortable with the actual hunger itself, right? If we think about it, hunger, if we are fortunate enough to have access to food when we want it, right? So then hunger is just intermittent and it's not an emergency. Hunger is not an emergency. Hunger is not something that needs to be prevented at all times. It's not the kind of a thing where you're going to be going into a meeting for an hour and you're not hungry now, but you're terrified that you're going to be hungry 30 minutes in, so you have to have a snack now because God forbid you're hungry 30 minutes in, right? It's not that type of a thing. We've been kind of conditioned to fear it, that we should never be hungry, and we try to prevent it. And that's a problem because most chronic disease is excess food, excess alcohol, relates to almost all chronic disease that we have. So we need to be thinking about how to not have so much excess so that we can not have so much chronic disease, right? So you don't need to prevent hunger. Sure, if you're going somewhere for 10 hours, it would make sense to bring something with you or whatever, but I'm talking about literally, people go into a meeting for an hour and they're not hungry, but they eat ahead of time to prevent that hunger. You can go an hour, it's okay, right? So allowing those little bits of hunger actually sort of trains that muscle, so to speak, of just not fearing hunger itself. Because you get used to it and you realize it's just uncomfortable at most, right? It's not painful, it's not an emergency, it's just a little bit uncomfortable. The other thing is hunger itself, and this is pretty interesting, I find it interesting anyway. Pretty new research that shows that hunger itself seems to turn on certain longevity pathways. So it used to be that, we know that fasting does. We don't know exactly the dosing of fasting and how frequent and how long fasting should occur in order to optimize all of these longevity pathways. There's still lots of research to be done in that area, but we know fasting in some form does turn on all kinds of longevity pathways. But interestingly enough, also just being hungry does. So in other words, if you were fasting and you were trying to mitigate the hunger by drinking tons of vegetable broth or bone broth or eating large volumes of leafy greens, to fill up in your stomach, and all those tricks that people have to try to mitigate the hunger, that can be helpful sometimes for sure. But something to pay attention to, feeling the actual feelings of hunger itself seems to be something that increases our longevity pathways. It seems to be that we actually need to feel a little bit of hunger in order to turn on the genes that optimize our bodies and our minds and help us to live a longer and healthier life. So ways that I'm bringing this into my day-to-day, I don't have specific fat loss goals right now, but I will condense my eating period of time where I just do like a little bit of a longer extended fast overnight when it fits into my schedule. When it doesn't, I don't do it. I'm not really dogmatic about any of this stuff, but just on a general basis, I want to make sure that I have some periods of fasting. I'll do occasional longer fasts, like 24-hour fasts. I've yet to do longer than 24 hours, but I'm going to do that at some point. And then I just am aware, I'm in tune with my body. I try to be. When I feel hunger, I sort of wait. It comes on gradual, right? Because when you're eating mostly real whole foods, you don't get hangry. It's just gradual. It just comes on like a little humming, and it gets a little bit more intense from there. So I'll wait it out. When it feels just like a little buzzing, I might not eat right then and there. I might wait a half hour or an hour or something like that, right? And just sort of space out our meals. We do not need to be eating every 2 hours, most people, unless you've got some other situation going on. But most of us, especially if you're healthy, do not need to be eating every 2 hours. You can space out your meals, you can space out your overnight fasts, and just sort of tap into your body's ability to heal itself and to optimize when we've got a little bit of hunger throughout our days and our weeks and things like that. All right, so hunger is something that normally has a negative connotation to it, but I just wanted to share a different perspective that it might not be as bad as you think, and there may be some purpose in making sure that we experience some hunger here and there. If you have any questions, like always, drop them in the comments. I'm happy to come back and answer them. Have a great day. Bye.